And your skin is the most resilient organ you have. I don't know if people realize that your skin is essential for life. If you lose your skin, you die. Not because it holds your other organ systems in, but because your skin is essential for water balance and temperature control and sensation that protects you from harm. So your skin does essential services for your entire body.
Hey everybody, I'm Doris.
And I'm Jen Giamo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, the podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we just talk to each other, but we're always talking to you. And don't forget, if you want to watch this episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
Yes, every week we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And today we are talking all about skincare.
Yes, and the skin microbiome. Take a listen.
Our guest today is a board-certified dermatologist specializing in laser, cosmetic, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology. She's a medical educator and a highly respected and sought-after media personality. She serves as a clinical associate professor of dermatology at NYU Langone Health, where she's been honored with the award for dedication and excellence in the teaching of dermatology.
With her holistic approach to skincare, she advocates for consistent sun protection, something I don't always adhere to, a balanced diet, regular exercise, and proper hydration to maintain youthful skin. If you follow her on Instagram, and if you don't, you should, she's always ready to share her knowledge and insights in a field that is constantly changing, and she's going to do that with us today. Please welcome back our dear friend, Dr. Doris Day. Dr. Day, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, we're so happy to see
Very
you.
happy
I
to
feel like
see
it's
you.
been a while.
I know.
All right, so we want to jump right in.
Yeah, go.
I want to talk about let's start with, because we just were talking about this prior to coming on. Yeah. What's new? Like, there's so many. This field is changing so much. There's so many advancements. You're on the forefront. You're on the cutting edge. You're involved in some of the research. So tell us what you've been doing lately.
Well, there's so many exciting things. This is a really great time to be getting older because we can age in numbers, but in years, but not in physical. So I think that once you hit about 30, you start to have two birthdays. One is your chronologic age, which is longer and older is better because we're alive that long. And the other is the physiologic or biologic age, which doesn't have to age at the same rate or pace as your numbers. And now what we've understood is that we've come up with these 12 hallmarks of aging, some of which are genetic, but then there's epigenetic. And the signs that you see in the skin are things like brown spots and wrinkles and collagen degradation and blotchiness and red spots and all the signs that we're trying to fix with the products that we have and the devices that we have. And many of them will affect a hallmark of aging or several hallmarks of aging, but there are regulators that affect all the hallmarks of aging. So one of the new molecules I've been working on is what's called a master regulator of aging, of those hallmarks of aging. So it affects all of the hallmarks at once and makes whatever else you do, whether it's a laser resurfacing or a vitamin C product or a retinol, helps all those products do their job better. And those master regulators, what makes them really interesting and so important is that anything that's evolutionarily preserved. So if you see something like hyaluronic acid or this other molecule that I've been working on called mTOR, that if it's evolutionarily preserved, if that pathway or that molecule means it's the same thing in yeast as it is in us, it means that it's essential for life. Something that hasn't changed throughout evolution. Think about how much we've changed and mutated over the last several hundred or thousands of years since we've come around. We look very different. We're still aging differently. Our teeth are different. We have our wisdom teeth. Some people don't even have them anymore. Our height, the way we walk, how much hair we have, our skin tone, all those things have evolved and changed. But these master regulators and some of the elements in our bodies have not changed because they're so essential for life that whenever they get mutated or they're not present, we can't survive. And that's something that when you can figure out how to modulate that and how to affect that, then you're going to help longevity in a very broad way. And what happens with time is that some of those master regulators become dysfunctional. If you think about why that matters, is that we're here for one purpose, to stay here, right? We're here to grow up, make babies, raise those babies, and then whatever happens is icing on the cake. So once you hit your 40s and you've had your children and you've raised them for a few years and they can be independent, then evolution doesn't need you to survive beyond that. But we've learned, because we have science and we have brains and we have purpose in life, that we've created a different reason to be alive even beyond our reproductive years. And we'd like to stay healthy longer, but we're having to manage how evolution doesn't support that to be able to stay healthy. And that's why those elements can become dysfunctional over time without worry. And when they become dysfunctional, what happens? All those hallmarks of aging and cancer. And so when we can figure out how to balance those, but because we don't need an on off switch, we need to modulate it and reset it to back to a healthy state. That's been so difficult that no one's really been able to do it. But now we can. And that's what's really exciting. So there are things that are coming out in the next several months that work on affecting master regulator pathways very specifically, that are safe, that have a lot of basic science behind them, that help for skin and ultimately for hair as well. And we're going to have so much more that we can do. And that's why I say it's such an exciting time, because the research that's going on, it's been so much basic science research. I mean, tens of millions of dollars of basic science research into this. And now we're finally going to be able to see it and have it be actionable, where we can actually apply it and see a difference. And I've been using it for a little while. So
I was going to ask you, so is it
I know.
topical? It's something topical.
Yeah, that
it's
you put
not
on.
that you.
it's topical. Yeah, it's
Inject.
topical, and eventually it'll be a supplement as well, and also a hair product. And then it's going to be prescription as well. So it's not just over the counter, but it's super exciting. And I would even say it's going to be revolutionary.
Wow.
And so much to look forward to. And we can keep talking more about it as I can tell you more. Now I can give you the basic background at a very high level, but I'll keep telling you more as I have more data to give you. But it'll be out towards the end of the year. The last quarter of the year, we'll finally have it available, and it's going to be so big.
Look how excited she's got.
So
she's
excited.
like, oh my God, I'll look 25 again.
I love all the new stuff.
I
just
know
think
you
it's
do.
so
I'm tired of the Me Too, of like another version of a vitamin C or another version.
I know, yeah.
Bring out a plant something and you go, okay, this plant, this algae, this algae, this one season in this one place can do this one thing. But if you get the story around why something is working, that is at that very micro level, at a cellular level, and you see it when you look in the mirror, that's really super exciting.
That's how you know. Wow.
And is it something that, like, what would the application process be? Is it something that you do morning and night? Is it something you do once a day? Once a day.
Just a once a day serum. And you'd still use your moisturizer and you'd still use your vitamin C. But now you're not playing whack-a-mole with those hallmarks of aging.
Yeah.
You're resetting the system, and you're allowing the other products to actually have a lasting effect. So many times I have patients who come in and they say, yeah, I've had these brown spots. I have them removed. And then I go out and they come back again. Well, that's because you're not affecting the hallmarks of aging. You're just treating what's in front of you, and you have to keep chasing that. If you can slow down that pathway and affect it from its base, then you're going to get much further.
So is that something where, like, if someone were to start doing that at, say, 30 years old, they could effectively really
exactly
relate.
But the reality is, yes, there's going to be different phases. So at 30, you're helping to preserve. At 40, you're starting to repair and preserve. And at 50 and 60 and postmenopause, you're doing a lot of repair. And each has its own special need. But the beauty of the ingredient is that where you need it more, it's going to work more. So somebody who's 30 will get a different benefit because they don't need the same benefit as someone who's 60. But the product and the ingredient knows, because you're modulating, you're regulating, you're controlling, you're not inhibiting. It's very specific. So at the cellular level, your cells will take what your cells need, and then they'll be able to use other products. You're still going to need sunscreen. You're still going to need good nutrition. You're still going to need other things, but this will make all those things work the way that they're supposed to and what we're hoping they'll do. I mean, so many times people will say, well, I use this and it didn't help, because you didn't have enough of that other benefit of going behind it to get that support.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's customized by nature
Sure.
for
Yes,
people,
so
right?
true.
Yeah.
Customized by nature, exactly.
That
Yeah.
should be the slogan.
That
If you use it, I want credit.
I know.
Customized by nature, I'm writing that down.
But let's go. So let's just kind of talk about, you talked about nutrition and getting those basics down. And you have
Right.
this holistic approach that, I love, that you talk about sleep,
Oh, that's
stress,
good. Yeah.
gut imbalance, hormones, nutritional deficiencies, and inflammation. So those are kind of the six, right, that you talk about, and that they can show up on your face. So can you just explain those briefly to us and how and why they impact our skin?
Yeah, everything I think comes down to inflammation and what now we call inflammaging. And everything contributes to that, whether it's how it affects your cortisol or your insulin resistance. And when you look at what we call beauty, many times it's not static and it's not purely physical, it's also ethereal. When you get to know somebody, you see their beauty through their personality, their behavior, their acts of gratitude and service. All of those things contribute to beauty, which is why I think beauty grows with age. Because as you live longer and you've raised a family or not, or you've built companies or survived things and you have stories to tell, that's a kind of beauty that comes through in your facial expressions, in your mannerisms, in even just your resting face. When you combine living a life that's socially aware and productive, and then you combine that with having a healthy diet, getting enough quality protein, quality fats, less of the crap food, the processed food, all of that. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be good most of the time. I certainly have we have our kitchen here. People bring us treats. I eat them and I'm like, burner, but I'm human. So I think you don't have to be a purist. You just have to be good. Like you can indulge for sure, but most of the time try to be good. And if you're going to eat foods that aren't good, make sure you also eat foods that are good. Drink enough water, minimize alcohol, because ultimately alcohol is sugar and it's aging. I don't think alcohol is the devil. I do think tequila is the best of the alcohols, and that's what I stick with when I drink, which isn't very often. And then sleep. There's no pill, cream, or product or treatment or anything I've talked about that replaces sleep. We need to sleep. Try to get 7 hours a night, get a wearable so you could see how your sleep quality is affected. And if you're not sleeping well, make adjustments, whether it's making the room darker, cooling the room, turning off the screens closer to bedtime, listening to meditations, just giving yourself permission to let go and put it down, write things down if you have to, just things that are on your mind. It's really training yourself, ideally, to go to bed at the same time every night, try to wake up at the same time every day. Our bodies like routine. So the more you could build routine in, the more you could poke through with other things that break a routine without causing too much disruption. So for me, I prioritize sleep over meals, and I usually don't even eat dinner. I will have my last meal at around 1 or 2, my lunch, and then I'm done till the next day. And it works really well for me. If you go to sleep a little bit hungry, you'll wake up full, actually. And then your day will start off better. So it's paying attention to those things, adding in basic supplements, making sure you're not vitamin D deficient. I think vitamin D goes really well with vitamin K. I like magnesium L-threonate at bedtime because it crosses the blood-brain barrier and it helps methylate something called catecholamines that can build up. And that's what can make your mind race as you're trying to fall asleep. Magnesium glycinate is supposedly calming, so that's fine too. But I prefer glycinate in the morning because I wake up caffeinated. So, so that calm is not making you sleepy; it's just making you focused. And but you can play and do it either way. Everyone has an opinion on these things, but I'm open to all ideas. But I like the L-threonate, especially if you have an MTHFR mutation where you don't methylate catecholamines very well. Then that will help you sleep and stay asleep. So those are my basic things. And then creatine, as you get older, it's a good quality protein. And people that I rely on for information talk about it. And then I go read the literature and I go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So I follow that. And then in terms of hydration, that's really important. You can eat your water. If you eat fruits and vegetables that are full of water, you'll get lots of hydration out of it. Drinking water is great, and you need some electrolytes in it as well. Somebody gave me a BlendJet. milk, this little thing.
Oh, I know. We
I
have them
love
too.
those.
Oh, we
Yeah.
love those too.
And at first I
Yeah.
was so skeptical. I was like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
I put my creatine and my collagen and frozen berries and
Yeah.
whatever else I have. So I'll put some coconut water, almond milk, or yogurt, or kefir, or cottage cheese, and I'll just a little avocado, some walnuts, like whatever I have, I throw in there. I have some AG1, the greens, and then I have some other stuff. So I just put stuff in there. It always comes out tasty, and a couple of dates. And then I just drink it all morning, and some ice cubes to make it nice and frozen. It's the most delicious thing, and I'm full
Yeah.
of the morning, and I just sip on it as I go. So make it fun, make it creative. You can put your kitchen sink in your little blend jet or your NutriBullet or whatever else you have. I have both. So it's finding ways to sneak in hydration and healthy foods and good proteins. And then the most important, again, everything is the most important besides sunscreen, is resistance training. Resistance training really helps keep your visceral fat low, keeps your metabolism high, keeps your insulin resistance low, and gives you that room to not be perfect. So if you're really good at lifting weights, and what I do is I'm boiling my water to make my French press in the morning. And while it's doing that, I'll do squats. So while I'm doing my rest of my breakfast mix, I just do squats. Every now and then after lunch, my whole team, we do squats before we do our afternoon.
I love that. They're like little exercise.
I know. That's
So
little
sneak
jolts.
in the workouts, and
Exercise
I
snacks.
work.
They're
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
snacks.
And I have a weighted vest, and I'll wear it around the house. And then I have the ropeless jump rope. I'll jump for 5-10 minutes here and there. So you don't have to commit and go to the gym for hours. Just keep sneaking in your workouts and weights. And then a really good, easy one to do is if you've just eaten and you want to just sit on the couch and you don't feel like going for a walk, if you just flex and point your feet. So I had a glucose monitor for a while, and I had my husband gave me because he's so corrupting. I had a ice pop, like a frozen
Yeah.
frozen yogurt ice pop thing, and then I see my blood sugar going up.
Yeah.
So then I start flexing and pointing my feet for like just a minute, and then I see it go
Starts
right
to go
down.
down.
Wow. Just that little bit makes it go down?
Yeah, it's not
Oh my
so you
God.
can get up and do squats, but if you don't even feel like standing up and doing the squats, just flex and point your feet. And I think it's called a foot push-up. I think there's actually a name for it, but it really, really works. So
Yeah,
after you
that's
eat at dinner,
funny.
if you're sitting at a meeting or you're at a dinner and you're not going to get up, just sit at your table,
Yeah.
flex and point your feet, and
Wow.
that'll prevent that glucose spike so much of a spike, and your blood sugar will come down much faster. So there's just no excuse to not do something. So my walking to and from work is my meditation, or listen to music or a podcast. It's my 40 minutes that I just do my thing. I get my workout in between. I do my Peloton on Tuesdays and on weekends. And then I have the Peloton app. I'll do some weights. So get your resistance training in and a little bit of cardio. And again, none of this has to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know people always
they
think
think
that,
they have to make this big commitment and work out for an hour
Yeah.
and do all the things. It's like
Yeah.
you just
But you
need
just
those
don't.
little
Yeah.
movement
Yeah.
throughout your day. It's so
Totally.
important.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And my Aura Ring, that's why I think the wearables are so helpful, because the Aura Ring helped me see that I was sleeping 8 hours, but I wasn't getting deep sleep. So that's why I was waking up not feeling well rested. And I was like, is it my thyroid? Is it this? Is it that? And I was intermittent fasting, and I was getting up and getting morning light on my eyes and doing everything you're supposed to do to have a great sleep and have a great circadian rhythm, but I wasn't well rested. But now when I realized I'm not getting deep sleep and I could make some adjustments, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better, actually joyful, because that deep sleep is so important. You need REM sleep and deep sleep, and you should probably get at least an hour of each a night.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
And you'll see the difference in your
Yeah.
skin.
in your skin. Oh,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
always come back to the skin. I always tell my patients, I only care about your skin. Like, quit smoking. Yeah, you won't get lung cancer, but your skin will look better.
It's gonna
Like,
look great.
your lung will benefit too. But yeah, you'll live longer, but your skin will
Yeah.
be pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I thought, well, everyone should just, pre-methylate. Why not? Or get vitamins that are
Right.
methylated. Yeah. So talk to us about the skin for a second, the actual microbiome of the skin. So our skin, for people that don't know, has its own microbiome. I'm not saying you
Yes.
don't know. I'm just saying for people that don't know.
This isn't me. Like I know
wasn't looking
nothing.
at you like that. I just was saying
Kind of.
for
yeah.
our audience who may not know.
Yes. The dum-dum here.
Talk
Go
to
ahead.
us about the skin microbiome, because I think people think about microbiome, they think about their
Their
gut,
gut.
they think about
Well,
other
we learned about
things.
the
We learned about the vaginal microbiome.
microbiome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Fun.
yeah.
So I actually just wrote a book with my co-author, Dr. Thomas Hitchcock. He's a PhD in genetics, super smart. It's called Rebooting the Biome, and it's all about the skin microbiome. And one of the things that I made a post about this on my Instagram, it really annoyed me, was there is a connection to the gut microbiome, and it's really super important. So what you put in your body, and the reason why eating high processed sugary foods is so bad is because when you eat, your gut biome eats as well. It eats what you eat. But if you're eating crappy food, it does two things. One is some of it gets absorbed before it gets there, so they're not even being nourished, and that can cause leaky gut. And the second is it can actually hurt the biome, and which means that pathologic microorganisms can overgrow and cause problems like inflammation, and that inflammation shows in all your other organ systems, including your skin. But that doesn't mean that if you fix the gut, everything else gets solved. And the post that bothered me was a post basically saying, fix your gut biome, take these probiotics or do whatever, and you'll cure your acne, you'll cure your eczema, you'll cure your psoriasis, you'll cure your skin cancer, whatever. Yes, the gut biome is so important because it informs the skin and the body through inflammation and other processes, but you still have to take care of your skin from the outside. Nothing you do on the inside will replace taking care of your skin from the outside. And your skin is the most resilient organ you have. I don't know if people realize that your skin is essential for life. If you lose your skin, you die, not because it holds your other organ systems in, but because your skin is essential for water balance and temperature control and sensation that protects you from harm. So your skin does essential services for your entire body. But because your skin is on the surface, it is most attacked by the world, right? It's the first that's exposed to all the elements. So it's designed to repair and reproduce very regularly. It's always turning itself over. And that's really important as well. So your skin also has its own immune system. It has Langerhans cells that are your first line of defense. So if you're overwashing your skin, you're weakening your skin's immune system and you're increasing your risk of infection. So it is important to wash your hands. But then I see people who come in and they use super hot water and they wash their hands all the time and their skin is raw. It now has less protection and less ability to defend itself against bacteria and harm than it did when it was healthy and intact. And if you have something like eczema or psoriasis, you have genetic changes in your skin. Like in eczema, you're missing certain ceramides, which help keep the skin barrier intact. And so, yes, having less inflammation is going to help, but you also have a genetic problem that needs to be addressed in many different ways that are sometimes external as well. And same with psoriasis, giving up alcohol and spicy foods and working on your gut biome will definitely help your psoriasis get and stay clearer. But sometimes you can do all those things and you still have to affect it from the outside. And sometimes we have to add in medications. But I'm a huge proponent of understanding the skin gut protection and the skin microbiome protection. So speaking of the skin microbiome by itself, we talk about bacteria that grow on the skin as being bad. And when you talk about microbiome, we're talking about bacteria, yeast, and fungi. These are microorganisms that are alive that live on our skin. And we complain, like if you have an infection, we say, oh, we have a bad bacteria. Well, the bacteria isn't necessarily bad, but if the biome is off balance, but you have dysbiosis, you have a dysfunction of the biome, then bacteria can behave badly and they're not being kept in check by the others. So they become like the bully that will now take over and overgrow. And if they get into the body, they can cause a systemic infection that could ultimately kill you. So we have to keep those in check. When we do a culture, we look for bacteria that are overgrowing, that are harming us, but we don't look for what's missing in a healthy biome. We just look for the bad ones or the ones behaving badly, and we try to knock them out. And often we're knocking out the whole biome, which we don't necessarily always want to do. So sometimes you need an antibiotic. We have to take care. But since I started researching for my book and really understanding the skin biome, I've reduced my antibiotic prescriptions for acne by 99%. We get great clearance and very little to no antibiotics.
Wow.
So you can do this.
I was just going to ask, I mean, you know that I've had this problem with eczema, but I didn't have it as a kid. I've only developed it. Is that because my skin microbiome has changed as I've gotten older, or stuff inside has changed a little bit?
It's a little bit unusual. Usually, when somebody has eczema, it usually starts in childhood. So I would say you're lucky that it didn't show up until later, and something might have shifted in your system that allowed it to come through, that you were able to keep in check before. And it could be a combination of so many things. Environmental triggers are the worst, between pollution and the crap in our foods that we have no control over. Like, you could, unless you're like out there growing your own cows and controlling the water that they get and the foods and the way they're packaged, by the time they get to us, they're so full of stuff that we have no control over. So even now we're hearing more about the microplastics. All of that could have just pushed you over the edge and triggered something that your body was able to keep at bay, and now it just can't anymore. But fortunately, we have such amazing drugs for eczema that people don't need to suffer with chronic eczema. And these are not steroids anymore, which is so amazing. And they're safe, even for children. So this is a great time to have eczema. And if you have eczema and you're
There you go. It's a great time.
It's a great time.
it's a great time to see your dermatologist, because we have drugs that are safe, effective, and super, super easy, that are not steroids. Because I don't like using steroids long term if I don't have to. They're miracle drugs, steroids, but they do cause problems long term with chronic
They
use.
really screw you up. Also, I do think that at one time I did have an undiagnosed version of psoriasis, but that has gone away. Like, I don't have.
Well, that's
that
more of an
anymore.
autoimmune, right? I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
eczema autoimmune too, or
Yeah,
no? It
it
is.
Both
Oh.
are autoimmune, but
Okay.
different
Yeah.
pathways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, usually you
So-
don't have both. So it might have
Yeah.
been a form of eczema. And they
Oh,
do
yeah.
look alike, although eczema is a bit more juicy, I would say, and more inflammatory. And psoriasis is thicker and more scaly. So they're slightly different in their appearance, but they can,
This face.
and we treat them a little.
You love all that stuff.
not-
Juicy and scaly.
No,
not
not so
for
much-
you,
not
right?
so
Oh,
much
then
that.
there was another post that really irritated me, where this guy was saying, yes, if you cover your eyes in the sun, you're gonna
Oh.
if you're gonna sunburn more, that your eyes need that sun exposure. Meanwhile, no.
What?
It's well, what happens is they take something that's a little bit true, but then you apply it broadly. And look, I learned so much from Instagram. I could tell you my grandbabies are so much better. Like, I don't tell them anymore, it's time to clean up. I tell them, these go in the box. And this goes in the box, they're going to do it. But if you say it's time to
Trying
clean
to
up,
clean up? No one wants to do it.
Mhm.
Maybe you should try that with me.
Maybe
This
that's
goes in
that's
the box.
that's the trick. That's the trick. Okay. This goes in the garbage.
This guy.
right, don't throw it away, but this goes in the garbage.
This
Right.
goes in the garbage. That's where it goes. So okay, so I have two questions then. So I saw that on Instagram that you called this guy out. So what is the shred of truth in that?
Yep.
Wait,
The
first
shred
of all, what was it? I didn't
Okay,
see it.
go ahead.
Okay, so what he said was that you shouldn't cover your eyes in the sun, because the rods and cones or myopsins in the eye, there's a melanin triggering element in the eye, which is true, that will help your body's defense against sun, and that also helps set your circadian rhythm. Okay, fine. But that's when the UV index is below 3, just as the sun is coming up, and it's only 10 to 15 minutes. It's not at noon when the UVB rays are strongest. Melanoma happens in the eye. You do have melanin in your eye, and it's the primary tumor of the eye that kills people. Oliver Sacks, who was a brilliant physician and writer, died of ocular melanoma. These are sad things that happen to people that you need to get your eyes checked, but also protect your eyes from UV rays when the UV index is above 3. If it's below 3, I think you're in a safer zone. And if you wanted to go out and get a little bit of sun, the reality, and Huberman has said a lot about this too, about your skin is an endocrine organ and you need it for all of these different purposes, and the sun is good for the skin. I don't disagree. But the reality is the amount of sun that people are getting is too much, and it's also destructive. Like, we're talking about health span as well as lifespan. Why are you throwing the skin under the bus? If you want vitamin D naturally occurs in food, nuts, eggs. You can get vitamin D from all sorts of natural food sources. The skin and the sun are not the primary or only source of getting it. And a lot of people want to be all vegetarian when in reality, certain vitamin B is only found in red meat, right? It's not found in nature anywhere else. So you need animals for that. But they'll say, okay, I'll take a supplement. But when it comes to vitamin D, they're like, no, I must get it from the sun. So if you're going to be a purist and say, I can only get it from the natural source, then you should, then you should say, I'll get it from foods and I'll eat meat. But these people,
Hypocrites.
why eat
They're
meat?
hypocrites.
They are. They are.
So is it true that, like, I've always heard that when you go out in the sun and you are getting vitamin D from the sun, if you're wearing sunscreen, you're not getting vitamin D? Or is that also a
If only
myth?
people were that good. First of all, you can 100 and you're still getting UV rays through the skin.
Yeah.
So that's one. So no one's putting on enough, or they're reapplying it enough. And I made a funny post about, like, yes, I wore sunscreen. I just absorbed the rays. Yeah, no, you didn't use enough and you didn't reapply it enough. And the second is that we don't really know how much you're getting or not, or even if you have suntanned or sunburned skin, how effective that is at making vitamin D. Nobody really looks at the skin's ability to make vitamin D when it's damaged. And also, if you get too much sun, your skin will start breaking down vitamin D because you don't want to end up with toxicity. So you can't just go out one day and get 20 minutes of sun and go, okay, I'm good, and I'm going to bank more vitamin D. Your body doesn't do that. If you take it as a supplement, it does, because it's fat soluble. But when you do it through the skin, at some point, your body's going to try to prevent toxicity and it's going to break it down. So I don't think the sun is the best way to get it. And people also don't realize that the sun doesn't really care what your intentions are. You don't have to be at the beach trying to tan to get the sunburn. You could be walking, you could be Mother Teresa doing God's work, and you're still going to burn in the sun. So the sun does not differentiate between where you
Just
are
laying there.
Right.
laying there versus being outdoors, playing tennis,
Yeah.
exercising. I look
do
at
like
the
laying there.
volleyball players for the Olympics.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous. They have great bodies, but look at their skin.
I know.
Yeah.
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 And tennis players too. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, you're right.
definitely,
You know,
definitely
that's a
true.
really good point, because I think
It
people
is.
don't realize or
I
don't
know.
recognize, like, and I have to, I'll raise my hand to this. Like, I
Yeah.
will lather my face with,
And you don't put anything.
and I don't put it on my body. I will
Yeah.
lather my face, my neck, all the
Yes.
places that Dr. Day treats.
Yes.
I will cover them up.
Protect.
I
The
protect.
hat
I
is
mean, remember last
big.
summer
Yes.
after I did the laser last
Yes.
summer, I was wearing gigantic hats. I was like,
Yeah.
I am not, my face is not. But then, you
then-
see my body and it's like my arms are tan, my legs
Yeah,
are tan.
everything else is
So you're right. I mean, it's, you can,
Yeah.
it's not just protecting
The
your
other thing
face.
about the tan is, and I find this so interesting, is that people will come in with like, they're like, is that your color or is that blackface? Like, they're so not a natural color and they're so dark and it's wrong, and they'll feel pale. It's people get used to the color that they have, and any color that's a shade lighter than their dark, they become like competitive tanners, and you get used to seeing that color and you don't realize how off it looks and how not good it looks. You can wear bronzers, you can wear self tanners or other things if you want a little bit of color, but you have to understand that when you're going in the sun, you make a tan in response to stress. And the stress is the UV rays, both A and B, hitting the DNA of your cells, breaking down collagen. And then your melanocytes, your pigment forming cells, will pick up and make pigment as much as they can to try to block those UV rays from hurting your other skin cells and the deeper collagen layer of your skin. So that's why you make a tan. You're making a tan as a response to a stress that's negative. And if you
Geez, when you put it like that, it's like, oh God.
Well, it's like it's a defense
Yeah,
mechanism. It's a
yeah.
protection mechanism.
Yeah.
You know, a burn.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think people have this morphed view of, and I used to be one of them when I was younger. You know,
Oh my
growing up in
God.
the '80s and
Yeah.
being in the sun and putting on
Wanna be so
baby oil
tan.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they used to say like, "Oh, you're tanorexic. You have
Yes.
tanorexia. You
Yes,
don't
I've been
realize
accused of
like
that as
how
well.
dark you are."
Yeah.
And people see you, and it's like your skin looks like so leathery.
Yeah.
And
Well, we know someone like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. And it's really hard to fix, especially as you get older and you get estrogen depleted, because you do need estrogen for that collagen production as well. And so that kind of makes me even more talk about the importance of hormone replacement. And it's something that I've been talking about for about 20 years. And now I've gotten a lot more vocal and adamant about it because I feel more confident in the data. And I love that I'm not standing alone in talking about this, but I've been doing hormone replacement myself for 14 years and recommending it. I don't prescribe it, but I go through the conversation with patients that your ovaries, once they fail, and you stop making estrogen, it's because you're done with your reproductive years. And again, evolutionarily, you can die now because you're done raising your children and you're not needed to make more babies and or to raise these kids. They should be able to live on their own, although. But the reality is that we now have science and we can make estrogen that's bioidentical, that's safe. And estrogen is not a carcinogen and it helps with collagen production in your skin. So you have estrogen receptors in your gut, in your brain, and all of those affect your aging, and all of that ultimately affects your skin. So I think that if and what I love about being a dermatologist is that yes, the skin is my organ of entry, my point of focus, but I understand I'm treating a whole person and I need to be able to I always say I have to keep you healthy so I can keep you beautiful. And I don't
Yep.
want my patients to just look better. I want them to be better. So everything I do is driven by my hope and desire to be their best cheerleader, help them see their beauty, but also help them make better choices in their life about what they put into their body, what they put on their skin, the decisions that they make, and even in the relationships they have. So I try to be very full service, and we have the best conversations here.
yeah, I know.
No,
we know that.
We both know that.
I
We
know,
both
and I
know
love that about you.
Yeah.
Like we talked about your holistic approach, but
Right.
also just your approach to cosmetic dermatology, where you don't overdo anything. And you've always
agree
said
with
like
that.
if you don't have the health of your skin, you can do all the fillers and all the
Yeah.
injectables, but you're never
not
going to
gonna
look
matter.
better because
Yeah.
your skin isn't healthy.
Right.
I
So
love that you listen. That's exactly what I
oh,
say.
She
I
listens
know.
to, she hangs on your every word. She hangs. If you could follow her around and just talk
Exactly.
to her all day, she would do that too.
Well, I know, and I want to get into some of my more important questions on
all
that
right.
note.
Well, move it along.
So
then.
I want to talk about, so you do a lot of product testing and you've tried thousands of things,
Yeah.
I'm sure. What is the criteria that you use to determine if a skincare product is effective, if it's worth recommending? What does that process look like?
Oh, it's intense. So my desk, which I won't show you, is covered in product, and then my drawers and my cabinets, it's all products all over the place. So I start with data. I want to see what the science is behind the ingredients that they're recommending or using. And I do a lot of advisory work as well. So I want to know what's in it. And then I want to know what testing they've done, how many people they tested on. So once I feel comfortable that this product is a legitimate product on paper, then I actually want to touch and feel the product, because I've seen products that on paper you're like, oh, this sounds amazing. And then you use it and it's tacky, it's sticky, it's irritating, and it's way oversold and it's unpleasant to use. And it has too many preservatives or ingredients that on paper are there so you can have it on the label, but they're not at levels that actually have activity in the skin. And there's one that's clinically active, and then there's one that's active just on a lab level. And I want products that are clinically going to make a difference. So, and how much testing do they have? Like a lot of them will do like 4 weeks of testing and like 15 people. That doesn't give you any real information. So I want to know how sincere this company is, how invested they are in their product. Like the ones that we're working on, it has millions of dollars of basic science testing in it, both for safety and efficacy. And then there's the human testing on the other side, including tape stripping and biopsies, and a level of of science and a level of detail that tells you that you're working with an honest product that's doing what it says to do on the molecular level. And then the reality is that there are so many good products out there. I try to talk a lot about drugstore products, and the simple rule for me with drugstore products are stick to the bigger name brands. A lot of the ones you'll see me mention are big names because they have big labs, PhDs working on this stuff, and most of their money goes into R&D rather than into just working on packaging. And they have volume. They even in buying their raw materials, they have the volume discount. So you're getting a lot of times very high quality products at a great price. I just helped Sarah V with a shampoo product, and the team of doctors that met, we were doctors with all different levels of expertise, all different hair textures. We treat a broad range of populations. And I learned so much from the other doctors about what preservatives shouldn't be in there for people who have sensitive scalps, or what makes hair thicker, like citric acid. If you want something that's going to make your hair feel and look thicker, you want citric acid. But if it's in a low concentration, it's a preservative. In a higher concentration, it's an acidic bonding that will make your hair feel thicker. So there's so many levels of care that goes into these products. And then it's sold in the drugstore and it's $10. Like, this is amazing that you can get a shampoo for dandruff or just for healthy scalp. And so when I have other ones that have peptides that are for hair loss here, but I'll have them do their first shampoo with the basic, like the CeraVe, and then the second shampoo, because I want most people to do a double shampoo with the other one that's more of a treatment product. So there's lots of great drugstore brands, but to see the level, it was 3 years of us meeting and seeing what advances they had, the things that we didn't want in it, the preservatives that were more problematic, they took out of it. And they found ways to still make it, because I need ones that are cosmetically elegant, that are going to make my hair feel good, feel clean, that are going to lather just right. So I'm not going to compromise on that. They're not going to compromise on that. And somehow when they complain, I go, that's a you problem. It's not a me problem. And then they find a way to fix it. So
It's
and they
funny.
did. So I think they did a great job with that. But Neutrogena does that. Olay, I was on their medical alliance for 10 years. We helped them develop. It was all behind the scenes, not on the marketing, not on the launching. I don't do the paid promotions on, none of my stuff on my Instagram is paid. But I help them understand what the need is on the patient side or on the public side, and what we're looking for in products. We help them devise clinical trials. We kept raising the bar and saying, listen, you want to be this is what you have to do. And the good companies will stand up to that and go to that bar, and they will raise it and try to make things better. So it's really nice.
So what are some of like the top, what would you say are the top 3 drugstore products for skin?
For what though?
Well, I have a lot of different issues, but
Oh.
like, let's say somebody has like dry, flaky skin. What would be a good drugstore product for that?
If you have dry, flaky skin, I would say CeraVe is good. Cetaphil has some new products out. Those are 2 good brands. La Roche-Posay is really interesting in that all of the La Roche-Posay products have the La Roche-Posay water in it. And this is spring water that comes from this town in La Roche-Posay. It's called La Roche-Posay in France. And it's actually, they have health centers where they do what's called balneotherapy, which is a bathing therapy for patients with psoriasis and eczema. And it's even covered by the French health system because it's medicinal. And they have that water in everything that they make. So I do like a lot of their products as well. One of the interesting things is that the products that you get here versus in Europe are often quite different. And I kind of like the European versions of some of these products better. They have a little bit more of a sense of ingredients that they don't like. But the problem and the reason why, like for sunscreen ingredients, the FDA has very strict criteria about what they'll allow through the FDA as a sunscreen ingredient or sunscreen filter. And we have so many more filters in Europe because they don't go through an FDA type of process. There, they're regulated as cosmetics, and they don't have the safety data that the FDA requires. And one of the things that the FDA requires is animal testing, which hopefully they're going to drop. And a lot of the products don't get here because they don't do animal testing. So hopefully, if some of these factors change around what the FDA requirements are, you'll see more of a synchronicity between products available in Europe and products available here. And we'll have a broader range of products that we can use that are very safe, but don't go through that level of animal testing that the FDA requires. I don't know why you have to have animal testing on a sunscreen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about real quick the differences between some home devices versus in-office devices, particularly for brown spots, crepey skin. I have a new one now that's like this pillow line that I get when I go to sleep at night. Like, is there anything I can do about that? Turkey neck. I mean, all of it. I have it all.
Did you just look in the mirror and
I'm
piece
looking-
out like what
I'm
you
looking
didn't like?
I'm looking
You're looking at
in
the screen now?
right now. But no, just things that I'm
Ay,
starting
ay,
to
ay.
notice, like the jowls. Like, are there really
Well, I know. Like
anything
that's
you can
what
do?
I have now because I lost all this weight. And so definitely, which is great, but it's not great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're losing weight, you want to start doing treatments that are going to balance the skin so it's resilient as you lose weight. My favorite thing for that is Soft Wave, because Soft Wave doesn't inject anything. It tightens and lifts and it builds collagen. It doesn't melt fat. It doesn't cause scarring under the skin. And it's great for all skin types. And you would do it at 6-month intervals right when you start the weight loss. And it helps the jowls. Now, and it helps the turkey neck. It helps everything else. Then it comes down to the line that you're talking about here is often because your masseter, the muscle that you use for chewing, is overgrown. And when that gets too big from stress or
Grinding your teeth.
Grinding my teeth. I grind
grinding
my
your
teeth.
Right. So when you grind your teeth, this muscle gets too big and then your face basically gets shorter to here functionally. So every time you smile, instead of going from the angle of the jaw all the way to here, it goes from here to here and it pushes in, and that's where that line falls. So basically, if you do Botox and slim this, you could put a little bit of filler behind to lift. That will solve this problem. It's not just from sleeping, it's from the masseter, the muscle used for chewing and you grind, overgrowing and pushing this forward, creating that crease. So what I do is I slim that muscle, don't erase it, just soften it, and then put some filler behind it to rebuild, to make sure that jaw stays firm, and that helps. And sometimes a little bit in front as well. But you don't fill into the line. You understand why you have the line. You go behind it, in front of it, and understand the source. Here it's the platysmal bands, and that's Botox. The chin is a little bit of Botox and sometimes a little bit of filler around, because all women, this bone shrinks and recedes with age. So we need to reflate the chin. And if you notice upper lip lines, it's usually because there's loss of volume here. This falls back. Then you have a projection of the upper lip. Every time you close your mouth, you pucker a little bit, and that makes lip lines. So before you put anything in the upper lip lines, you have to balance out the lower face. Then you can gently, with a very soft filler, I love Redensity for this, then you can just give support against those lines and they'll naturally get better without adding weight, without adding bulk. The idea is the filler should always be invisible and the patient should always look better.
Mm-hmm. So is that because the top lip starts to kind of come over the bottom lip a little bit? That's why you get
One is it comes over, and the second is that the bottom recedes. So it's both at once. This bone doesn't shrink back the way this bone does. They're two different bones. This is the maxilla. This is the mandible.
Okay. So you talked about something on Instagram about injecting. Is that what you were just talking about now, that little light filler
Yeah.
where you
Yes.
put that and it gets rid of those vertical
Wow.
lines?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be right over.
I was just, you just took the words out of my mouth. While you're explaining all of this, she's
I was
like,
like, I gotta go.
She's
I gotta
like- She's like, can you
I'm
fit
only a
me
few
in
blocks
about
away.
20 minutes? I can run down the street.
But okay,
Oh
so
my God.
so you're not filling in that
No.
pillow line. You're getting behind it, and so you're almost sort of like taking it from both sides and
Pulling it.
flattening it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to make a note of that. I need that next time. Okay, and then what about brown spots?
Brown spots is laser resurfacing. If it's sunspots, if it's melasma, we'll do a chemical peel. So you have to understand why you have the spot. If you do heat based on melasma, it can make it better, but it can also make it worse. So I prefer the chemical peels. But if it's sunspots, the CO2 laser is great. I have the Moxie BBL, which is a thulium and a broadband light, which does wonders. I did it for my chest. It was incredible. And that's the best treatment. So the downtime can vary depending on how deep the spots are and how much sun you've had and where your skin is. But the good news is with lasers, both the broadband light or pulse dye laser and the CO2, they help with what you see on the surface, but they also lower your risk of skin cancer and they improve your resilience to sun. So these are not just creating an improvement in appearance, they're improving skin quality, lowering your risk of skin cancer. And Dr. Matt Avram, who is a colleague and he's brilliant, he's at Mass General, he just posted on his Instagram today that using pulse dye laser, and I think broadband light would be the same, also helps lower your risk of skin cancer. And I think it's because it helps lower the blood vessels that are feeding those skin cancers. That's my theory of probably why they're working. But the data is showing that that's true. So these treatments that we do on the surface, for like people who have rosacea, have a lot of redness, chances are those people are also more sun sensitive and more prone to skin cancer. And by doing these treatments, their skin is not just looking better, but it's actually better skin. And oftentimes, we're also lowering their risk of skin cancer.
So how do you know then? I mean, you know because you know, but like, how would a person know like what type of laser to use? Like, and someone had asked me this question. I just kind of jotted these down. These different lasers. They were like, ask Dr. Day about this. Pico Plus, V Beam, Maria.
Yeah, that's a new laser. So yeah, there's so many devices out there. Everybody has what they have. So the pulse dilator, the V-beam is a brand of a pulse dye laser.
Okay.
The Pico is another shorter wavelength that they made a big deal out of. It's fine, but they first started out selling it as tattoos. It's massively expensive, and then it didn't do as well. But it helped for melasma. It helps with a bunch of different things. So it's like the way I look at it is like if I have a set of pots and pans in my kitchen, and it may be a spaghetti pot, but I can also make soup in it. So it's like you can have a laser. It's how you use it, what you're targeting, that can make the difference.
We could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, which we do.
Like
I'm just gonna.
I see because we had a late start. But
Yeah,
anyway, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Follow you on Instagram at Dr. Day, at Dr. Doris Day. Is that your Instagram?
Dr. Doris Day. Yes.
Dr. Doris Day. And I mean, we just love you. And
Me too so much.
We'll be there. We'll do it.
I'm going to just come in the office with the rest of my questions.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being here, coming back.
We'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Another one-on-one.
I know.
Cornered doctor's
Love
appointment with Dr. Doris Day for you, especially.
I know.
Yes, all for you.
I know. It's a little bit selfish, isn't it?
Very selfish.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have her back just so you could, you
kind of, but I feel like a lot of people want to also know the questions that I'm asking, right? They want to know the answers.
They definitely do.
So yeah, we touched on lasers. I wanted to get a little bit more into like the in-office procedures versus these home things, but we'll have her back and we'll talk about that. But I'm going to go now so I can get over there.
You're gonna go real quick. As she's explaining that thing, I see in your brain. Yeah. You're like, how quick can I get to her office so she can do this right now? Because it's bothering me right now.
10 blocks away.
Yeah.
I don't know why she hasn't done that yet for me.
I know.
I need it.
Well, you said it's new. I don't
No,
even
it's
know
not
what you're
new.
talking about.
No, that's a deep line right here. Yeah.
It's because you're so stressed out.
Well, I do. I mean, I've been told by a lot of doctors and dentists that I clench my teeth at night. I don't grind as much as I do clench, but I clench during the day. I find myself like, I'm like, oh, I have to.
Yeah, relax.
Like once I drop my jaw, I realize that I've been clenching.
But your whole body is like that.
Yeah, my
you
whole
walk
body's
around like
I
this,
know.
tight.
I know.
Yeah, it's so bad. So bad.
But I've been meditating more at night, so I've been trying to like calm my nervous system down.
Is that working for you?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. More so when I'm at the beach versus here in the city, but whatever.
But yeah, you just love. I mean, I like it. I like her because she doesn't. She's not like, yes, you should do this. Yes, you need to do this.
Totally. She does less.
She's like, first, try eating more greens.
That's
first, try
drinking
not
more
going
water.
In the sun. First, try this, and then we'll do this.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And she's conservative, she's almost
is.
sometimes too conservative for me when I go
know.
there. I'm like, no,
Are you
can't you
talking about
just...
the lasers? Are you talking about like the red laser and all that stuff?
I'm talking
No,
about
you're talking about that other thing that you
the
did.
laser resurfacing.
Yeah.
And there's all these different ones now, these newer ones. But I guess what she's saying is V-beam is kind of the overall
Right.
laser, and then there's these different
Yeah.
brands. But
Yeah.
but I was just curious to know like what she thought of, because I've asked her about different things, and she'll say, the company has asked me to have that device in my
Right.
office, and I won't have it because of XYZ. So I kind of wanted
she
to...
likes to know exactly like what's going on.
Yeah. And she tests things herself, and she looks at all the
Right.
science, which is what I love. Like, she's first of all, she's brilliant.
Yeah.
Second of all, she does the actual research. Like, she's on these teams that are doing the research on this stuff. So it's really fascinating. If you're in New York City, Dr. Doris Day,
We sent a lot
70th
of
and
people-
Madison, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Sent a lot of people to her.
Yeah. Anyway, we hope you got some more out of it, as much as maybe Jen did, but not quite as much, because Jen's going to actually go there and get some of these things. But anyway, I'm Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jen
And
Giamo.
this was Everybody Talks.
Talk to you next time.
Take care.
For more information about our podcast, to learn more about us, or to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at every.body.talks.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Shirley, at Jen Giamo, and at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, join the Everybody Talks community and become an exclusive member of our wellness group. Check out the link in our show notes to learn more.
Don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody. The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweiss and Jen Giamo. Produced and edited by Station 16.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, Murray, and Frankie.
Talk to you next time.